Muleni, and welcome to the Conversations with Lankosi YouTube channel. As you know, mine is to inform, educate, and entertain. Tingulankosi, your host. Welcome to the channel. Today, we'll be getting into the infamous scandal that rocked South Africa to the core, being the manipulation of the South African rand by 28 major banks. Join me as we will delve in to the intricate web of the manipulation of the South African rand by 28 major banks. Now, for us to truly understand this manipulation scandal, we need to first understand the South African rand's significance. The South African rand is the official currency of South Africa, serving as the backbone of our economy. Its fluctuating value directly impacts imports, exports, investments, and obviously the inflation rates. It is therefore crucial to the country's economic stability that the rand's value remains free from sinister manipulations. However, it has not been immune to manipulation and volatility. It is within this backdrop that we encounter the story of 28 major banks manipulating the rand for their gain. For us to comprehend the extent of this manipulation, it's essential to examine the key players involved. These banks, primarily from Europe and the United States, were entrusted with billions of dollars by their clients who believed in their integrity and ethical conduct. Unfortunately, based on how things have played out, it became evident that these banks betrayed that trust. In 2015, the South African authorities embarked on a significant investigation into alleged currency manipulation by several international banks. During this investigation, it was discovered that the South African rand was being manipulated by no less than 28 major banks, including global financial giants like JP Morgan Chase, Barclays, and HSBC. Mind you, this was something that the former president of the country had addressed. In fact, it was around the same time they made it seem like he was the cause for the rand's value depreciating due to the removal of Pravin Gordhan at the time. Let's get into an article published by BBC News. Now, this article was published on the 16th of February in the year 2017. Moving on. Local and international banks have been accused of rigging the price of South Africa's currency, the rand, by the country's competition watchdog. Global giants Barclays, JP Morgan, and HSBC are among 17 banks named as part of the 2-year investigation. Banks colluded using online chat rooms to coordinate fictitious bids and offers in order to sway the markets, the Competition Commission says. It has called for the banks to be fined 10% of in-country annual turnover. The banks are now likely to face prosecution at the country's competition tribunal over the alleged currency manipulation, which investigators say goes back as far as 2007. Several banks have already said that they will cooperate with the authorities. Speaking in Parliament earlier, South African President Jacob Zuma welcomed the Competition Commission's investigation, saying that the government was prepared to act against the distortion of the financial markets to protect the country's economy. He also reiterated that the government's commitment to establish a state bank, adding that new players must be allowed to enter to diversify the financial sector. Foreign exchange scandals have rocked the international markets over the past 10 years, and now it's South Africa's turn to host one. The governing ANC party says the latest developments expose an ethical crisis in the South African banking sector. The opposition, Economic Freedom Fighters, is calling for the banks to have their operating licenses immediately revoked. However, another opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, says the timing of the case is suspicious, given that in his State of the Nation address last week, President Jacob Zuma referred to the competition authorities as one of the tools that would be used to drive radical economic transformation forward. Even as expected, the 17 banks come to some sort of settlement with the South African authorities. The whole saga will still be another blow to the sector's reputation. It has also given certain politicians more ammunition to bash the banks yet again. President Zuma recently accused the country's four largest banks of controlling the economy. The South African rand has nearly halved in value against the US dollar over the past 5 years as the country goes through an economic crisis. Major international banks have had to pay out billions of dollars in fines since a global scandal in 2013 over the rigging of foreign exchange markets. Some South Africans on Twitter have been using the hashtag banks collusion to urge national media to intensify their reporting. They argue that largely white-owned media organizations have been soft on reporting corruption in big businesses, whose upper echelons are still dominated by white management despite the country's majority black population. Apartheid, which legalized racial discrimination against the majority black population, ended in South Africa in 1994 with the election of the first democratic government led by the former President Nelson Mandela, who passed on in 2013. Now, this is an article that was published in the year 2017 on the 16th of February. So this is something that was known, and at the time it was only 17 banks. It was only 17 banks, and you had a president that actually welcomed the investigation that the Competition Commission had launched and the outcomes of it, and he even addressed. Now, I just wanted to come back and comment on the Democratic Alliance's comment at the time, which was very insensitive, coming back to further, obviously anchor one stance when it comes to my view on the Democratic Alliance. Now, at that time, it was only 17 banks, and this thing was being highlighted. Instead of the Democratic Alliance addressing the issue, they come back to say it is suspicious due to the timing because a week before, the president did point out to using the competition Dondoni as a tool for radical economic transformation, which is just weird for me because what kind of reasoning is that? And it's also just weird how, yes, this was being reported on, but not much noise was being made as compared to the noise that the media was making, mainstream media that was making when it came to the rand dropping due to the president firing the then Minister of Finance, who was Pravin Gordhan at the time. So to think that all of this was happening, guys, during that time, and we as a country were made to believe that the rand was plummeting because of the leadership that we had under President Jacob Zuma is just, it's scary. It is just scary. So how did these banks manipulate the rand? They exploited a foreign exchange trading practice known as a front running. Essentially, they pre-positioned their trades before executing large client orders to take advantage of the predicted currency movements. By doing so, these banks ensured substantial profits for themselves while compromising the integrity of the rand's value. In more simpler terms, they manipulated our rand, guys, by practicing the art of currency rigging, which is a technique that involves collusion between banks to manipulate exchange rates to benefit their own trading positions. These banks literally work together to influence the value of the rand, leading to massive profits in their own currency trading activities. And yes, this was during the same time y'all were starting to blame the former president for addressing an issue that was raised by the Competition Commission back then. The investigation was conducted by South Africa's Competition Commission, which is a regulatory board that is responsible for maintaining fair competition within the country. Their findings were startling. The commission discovered extensive evidence of collusion and market manipulation among the 28 banks involved. It was revealed that they formed a cartel to manipulate forex bids and offers for the rand, thereby controlling its value. Thankfully, the media statement the Competition Commission had issued on the 2nd of June 2020 provides us with a background story regarding the matter. Let's read. On the 15th of February 2017, the Competition Commission referred a complaint against 17 banks accused of colluding to fix prices and divide markets in respect of the US dollar to the South African rand currency pair in contravention of Section 4.1b1 and 2 of the Act. The Commission found that banks directly or indirectly fixed prices in respect of the trade in the dollar to the South African rand currency pair in relation to bids, offers, and bid-offer spreads, the spot exchange rate, and the terms and/or margin of executing client orders at the fix. The banks also divided markets by allocating customers in the dollar to South African currency pair. The number of the banks implicated subsequently increased from 17 to 23. None of the banks have to date filed their answer to the merits of the case. Instead, they filed exceptions challenging the commission's case against them. The main challenge by foreign banks was that the commission and the competition tribunal did not have jurisdiction to prosecute them. The other challenge was that the commission's case against them was not clear and should therefore be dismissed. On 12 June 2019, the tribunal issued a decision dismissing the challenges brought by various respondent banks, but also ruling that although the Commission could ask for a declaratory order of guilt against banks that have no presence in South Africa, it could not fine such banks. Some of the respondents, namely Bank of America, Merrill Lynch International Limited, JP Morgan Chase and Co., JP Morgan Chase Bank, NA Australia and New Zealand Banking Group Limited, Macquarie Bank Limited, HSBC Bank, USA National Association Inc. and Smith Inc. and Credit Suisse Securities, which is an American bank LLC, filed an appeal with the Competition Appeal Court against the decision of the tribunal. In addition to filing appeal, JP Morgan Chase and Co., JP Morgan Chase Bank NA, Australia and New Zealand Banking Group Limited and Credit Suisse Securities also filed review applications to review and set aside the tribunal decision. The Commission then filed a cross appeal against certain aspects of the decision of the tribunal, in particular against an order that banks with no presence in South Africa cannot be fined. In February 2020, a CAC delivered judgment on the appeals and reviews filed by the banks as well as the cross appeal by the Commission. CAC dismissed the appeals and reviews lodged by the banks and upheld the Commission's cross appeal. It held that Commission must file a new complaint referral with the tribunal, which will replace the previous referral. The CAC ordered the Commission that the new referral should clearly indicate that the conduct of banks had direct and immediate effects in the South African economy. The new complaint referral has been filed against the following 28 banks: Bank of America, Merrill Lynch International, BNP Paribas, JP Morgan Chase and Co., JP Morgan Chase Bank NA, Australia and New Zealand Banking Group Limited, Standard New York Securities Inc., Invested Limited, Standard Bank of South Africa Limited, Nomura International PLC, Standard Chartered Bank, Credit Suisse Group, Commerce Bank AG, Macquarie Bank Limited, HSBC Bank PLC, Citibank NA, Absa Bank Limited, Barclays Capital Inc., Barclays Bank PLC, HSBC Bank USA, National Association Inc., Merrill Lynch Pierce, Fenner and Smith Inc., Bank of America NA, Investec Bank Limited, Credit Suisse Securities LLC, Nedbank Group Limited, Nedbank Limited, RMB Holdings Limited, First Rand Bank Limited, and Standard Americas Inc. These banks are accused of colluding to fix prices and divide markets in respect of the US dollar to the South African currency pair in contravention of Section 4.1b1 and 2 of the Act. The banks directly or indirectly fixed prices in respect of the trade in the US dollar to South African currency pair in relation to bids, offers, and bid-offer spreads, the spot exchange rate, and the terms and/or margin of executing client orders at the fix. The banks have also divided markets by allocating customers in the US dollar to the South African currency pair. Some of the banks have already admitted to the contraventions in the USA for manipulating the dollar to the South African rand currency pair. For instance, in 2014, New York State Department of Financial Services instituted proceedings against Standard Chartered Bank in relation to their foreign exchange trading business in emerging markets currency prices, including the South African rand. In 2019, the Standard Chartered entered into a plea agreement with the New York State Department of Financial Services in respect of the charges. Standard Chartered Bank admitted its guilt to engage in an unsafe, unsound, and improper conduct in violation with banking law, and paid a penalty of $40 million. In 2017, Credit Suisse and Credit Suisse USA entered into a plea agreement with the New York State Department of Financial Services in respect of the same charges. Credit Suisse admitted its guilt to engaging in unsafe, unsound, and improper conduct and paid a penalty of $135 million. The United States Department of Justice further laid criminal charges against key individuals involved in the conspiracy. Note on key terms: bid is a price at which the banker or dealer is willing to buy the base currency. Offer is a price at which the banker or dealer is willing to sell the base currency. Bid or offer spread is the difference between the bid price and offer price. It represents the profit margin of the dealer or trader. Spot exchange rate is the current price level in the market to directly exchange one's currency for another. Fix is a financial benchmark rate which is determined for a large number of foreign exchange rates. Example, the euro to the US dollar, right? The US dollar to the rand. The benchmark rate is calculated at several times of each day, but the benchmark determined at 4 p.m. London time is the most widely used in financial markets, also referred to as the 4 p.m. fix. Rates are the prices of the FX spot transactions, being the price at which currency is being bought or sold. Now, that is the extract that I got from this media statement that was released by the Competition Commission of South Africa on the 2nd of June in 2020. And it provides us with a background story of how, it went from 17 banks to 23 to 28. And what actually went down in between. To think that, these banks were out here questioning our jurisdiction when they know exactly what they did. The nerve. You never questioned that when you came and you manipulated the rand, affecting us South Africans. So it's weird that you're now going to come and talk about jurisdiction things. And also, I'm just glad that this is coming back, to the surface again, because I low-key felt like it was brushed under the carpet. The impact of this manipulation on the South African economy cannot be overstated. Firstly, it distorted the exchange rate, making it difficult for local businesses to plan and operate effectively. The arbitrary fluctuations in the rand's value disrupted import and export activities, contributing to the instability of our market. Secondly, the manipulation negatively affected the purchasing power of everyday South Africans. As the rand depreciated due to the artificial interventions, the cost of imported goods increased, leading to inflationary pressures. This meant that ordinary citizens had to pay more for essential commodities, impacting their quality of life and income inequality was also being increased, right? Additionally, the manipulation of the rand had far-reaching consequences for foreign investments in South Africa. Investors look for stability and transparency, and the exposure of illicit activities involving major banks eroded confidence in the nation's financial system. This led to capital flight as foreign investors withdrew their funds, further weakening the economy. About the fallout. In response to these revelations, legal actions were taken against the implicated banks. The South African authorities imposed significant fines totaling to billions of rands. Additionally, some international regulators, such as the US Department of Justice, also levied fines on banks within their jurisdiction, reaching multi-million-dollar settlements. Let's get into extracts from articles published by Business Day and the Australian Financial Review. In an article published on the 17th of February 2017 via Business Day, they had reported that the Competition Commission's indictment of 16 banks for forex rigging outlines in excruciating detail how traders at these banks, including Absa, Investec, and Standard Bank, engaged in activities designed to rig a market with a daily turnover of $49 billion at the end of April 2016. According to the Bank for International Settlements, Business Day has taken a closer look at the issue and pieced together how the rigging was done. It also emerged that a number of the traders identified in the commission complaint were not new to forex rigging. Here are the details. In January, the U.S. Federal Reserve permanently banned Jason Katz, who worked for BNP Paribas, Standard New York, and Barclays during the period of the commission's investigation, from participating in the forex market due to his role in manipulating forex prices. This followed an earlier $342 million penalty against Barclays for control deficiencies related to forex trading, JP Morgan and Citigroup, which are named in the competition. It continues, it does, but we're not about to get into it. I chose this part of the extract to show you how much money these people were actually milking. And the mere fact that they highlighted that these people are not new to the art of rigging, guys. This article came out in 2017. I keep on emphasizing 2017. Those who know. If you don't catch it, I'm sorry. I'm not about to keep on hinting and giving you hints all the time. But if you know, you know. And that's why I chose to bring these articles back that were published in 2017. I see what is being said now. I get. We can even come back and talk about the ones that were published now and what people are saying now, because it's also election time next year. I think that's when that line of the DA comes in, the timing of things. But we cannot downplay the work that the Competition Commission did. The mere fact that they investigated and they fought, even when these banks were questioning, but why are you? Do you even have the power? Is this even your jurisdiction? So it's weird, guys. Like it's creepy, hey? It is creepy, and that's why I took these parts from the extra so you can see and understand that they did not care. Mainly this was about making money. The ones that were behind this, the masterminds, definitely pocketed millions out of rigging the system. Let's get into our next extract from the Australian Financial Review. Now, this was also published on the 18th of February in 2017. Dozens of currency traders at some of the world's biggest banks, from Credit Suisse Group to Bank of America, have been named in a South African probe into an alleged scheme by the dealers to manipulate the value of the rand. The traders, who regulators say were part of an illicit project to fix the price of the rand since at least 2007 include Bank of America's Gavin Cook and Credit Suisse's Christopher Hatton. According to a complaint against a group of lenders published by South Africa's Competition Commission, two other names in the document, ex-BNP Paribas employee Jason Katz and former Citigroup trader Christopher Cummins, have pleaded guilty to allegations in the US for rigging emerging market currencies, which include the rand. Now, this is not a rumor. This is not something that just comes out of nowhere. This was reported on in 2017. And as I mentioned earlier on in the video, based on the research that I did, and obviously, the information sources, the mere fact that there was a statement issued by the Competition Commission where they actually take us through, it's like a mini timeline where they provide us with the background. You see that this is not something that they just came up with and said, no, this is a story that has been there during the former president's time. And, guys, it's weird, it's creepy, it's scary. Because we always talk about corruption, right? Here, when it has to do with government officials, it has to do with, I'm not saying let's not talk about corruption, but when it comes to the corruption that these big establishments are also behind, it's shocking. It is shocking. It is shocking. It's scary. It's weird. It's alarming. And then you also see how the media also goes about reporting on it. If this story came back again now and it was still the former president Jacob Zuma who was still in charge, I bet you it would have been different headlines. This is scary. The mere fact that these people even came back to admit, they didn't even deny it. They didn't deny it. It's scary. Now, let us talk about the aftermath. The consequences of the scandal extend beyond just financial penalties. The implicated banks faced reputational damage, loss of clientele, and increased scrutiny from regulatory bodies worldwide. The international banking industry as a whole was forced to re-evaluate its practices to prevent similar manipulations in the future. The reaction from South Africans is that of shock and disappointment, with others highlighting the fact that this is not happening for the first time. This is something that has been ongoing, and they also are mentioning the fact that the former public protector did mention this. The former president did address this. Back then, they did address this, those political parties that I mentioned earlier on. Just mixed reaction. And people are also coming back to, bring us back to the hashtag bank collusion that once trended back then, but then it obviously did not gain traction. So we're all shocked as a country. We're shocked, but we're also disappointed. We are frustrated. We are definitely angry because you did not only undermine the value of our currency, but you undermined our integrity as a country and the integrity of our economy. And you cost us as a people. That's literally what you did. And that is the feeling. There's no tiptoeing around this. And it's just, let's continue. It is essential to take a step back and understand the lessons learned from the scandal. Firstly, regulatory bodies must remain vigilant in detecting and prosecuting market manipulations to maintain fair and transparent financial systems. Secondly, banks and financial institutions must prioritize ethical conduct and ensure robust internal controls to prevent collusion. Finally, Investors, both individual and institutional, must be aware of such manipulations and demand more transparency, holding banks accountable for their actions. Moving forward, it is essential for South Africa to take steps to prevent further manipulation of its currency. Stricter regulations, enhanced oversight, and the prosecution of individuals involved are all necessary measures to restore trust in the banking sector. Moreover, the South African government needs to work towards diversifying its economy, reducing its reliance on foreign investments, and promoting domestic industries to safeguard against future external interference. And even when they promote the domestic industries to safeguard against future external interference, we do not want to hear about cadre deployment, okay? We do not want to hear about cadre deployment. Now, as we conclude this episode, or this video rather, it is apparent that the manipulation of the South African rand by 28 major banks has had a profound impact on the country and its people. The repercussions of these actions extend beyond mere financial losses, reaching the very fabric of society. The quest for justice and a more transparent financial system must continue. And you know what? I am questioning why at that time when there was a cabinet reshuffle, remember? Because that is why I used those articles that were published at the time, because we were made to believe that the rand went down because Pravin was removed. He still stayed. He's still in cabinet, allegedly. Dadlala, no, he still is there, guys. I'm just... Here, son. You know what? It's an eyebrow raiser for real. But let's see. I just hope we stop relying on foreign investments a lot. Maybe we might also have to take Malawi's route somewhere, somehow, as a country, because this is not it. This is also embarrassing. That marks the end of today's video. Thank you so much for lending your eyes and ears. I hope that you found today's video informative. Please do not forget to click on that subscription button or light the notification bell so that you do not miss out on any new uploads. Enkosini.